Here's my whole house generator update. As anticipated in the last video, the pad is now officially poured and the generator is on the pad. Sounds like something from SpaceX or NASA. Anyway, so here's the little generator, 22 RY Kohler, little automotive style 4-cylinder engine on the pad. We have the fuel line, as talked about in the other video here, coming out of the conduits. The other conduits, everything lined up perfectly well, so that the cabinet over here, or the housing that will house this generator, it will go over the generator once everything is all hooked up and tested out. Will fit exactly to the back of the conduit. Right over here. So the conduit, the electrical conduit and the fuel conduits, everything just fits right inside of this case here. So took a little bit of measuring, and so once the concrete pad was poured, I had to set the thing on there in several locations to try to get it exactly where I needed it, so everything measured out, and then had to drill for the concrete anchors down into the concrete, and then lift the generator back up and set it down exactly in the same spot, because the anchors are actually inside of these access holes here for lifting. There was no way I can get down in there to drill those concrete anchors with the generator in place, so had to lift the generator up, set it down, get it in the location I wanted, and then I used, you could see some black spray paint here on the corners. I used some black spray paint to mark exactly where the generator was, so it'll go back in the same spot. Drilled the concrete anchors. Of course, when the spray paint went in, it also marked the holes for where the generator put in the concrete anchors, and set it down, and it fit like a glove. So we're all good to go there. So now it's time to hook up the electrical at this end and hook up the fuel and see if we can get it to go. Still don't have the big tank in. Waiting on a couple of quotes to get that in, but the line is run, and have to do a little bit of grading there on the end to flatten that area out and throw some rock in for the big fuel tank. I was thinking of putting it on a concrete pad, but I don't think that's really necessary. So we are good to go. Now let's go over and take a look at the electrical panel. So in the lovely 90-degree heat that we had over the weekend, I finished this part of the project up. I don't know if you could see the green LEDs or not, but we actually do have power to the panel now. This is, as I mentioned in the last video, this is the transfer switch, and it's an ASCO 185 200 amp NEMA 1 transfer switch. NEMA being the designation that it is a indoor transfer switch, 1 being the indoor transfer switch. But let's take a look at the inside. You saw in my last video what the inside looked like with just the generator hooked up, and now we've got a lot more hooked up. We've got everything that needs to be hooked up other than the control cable hooked up. So the gray cable at the top is the main feed from the meter, and that comes down into the cabinet. That was moved over from the regular electrical box, the house breaker panel. That comes down, and of course everything in this transfer switch is exactly backward from where it comes in. So let me see if I could back up a little bit more here and show you. So here are the actual feeds coming from the utility power, from Dominion Electric in this case, and then it comes up from here. There's the neutral wire, comes up and goes back down through this 1.5-inch conduit, down through the 1.5-inch conduit, around and up into my main electrical panel right here. So it all went together, I would say pretty well, but I'd be lying. The biggest problem was trying to get this 3/0 copper cable, which doesn't want to bend, down through this conduit. That wasn't too hard, but around this corner and through and up into there, that was not fun. But it took me about a day of struggling to get all that lined up and in the conduit. But it's in, it's working. The whole house is now on the transfer panel. I think it made a pretty clean installation all in all. And so that part's done. Now the only thing that remains to be done is hook up the conduits on the back of the generator. And I'll zoom in on that. hook up those conduits and the fuel system to the generator, and we'll be making juice. So I'm hoping, pardon the shaking of the camera there, I'm hoping that probably in the next week I should be able to finish up those connections on the generator. I mean, mind you, this is a weekend project, so you know, it's taking a little bit longer than I'd anticipated. Got to also break down the forms of the concrete pad. This is 4,500 per square inch concrete, so it's about 9 inches thick is what the pad is, and it is reinforced concrete with rebar in there, so it should be plenty beefy. And even if the generator vibrates a little bit, which it shouldn't, but if there is vibration over time, it will not crack the concrete. So that's the update on the whole house generator project, and probably in a few days I will have another update. Hopefully we'll be able to start this thing and see how it runs.